I'm Bill Auten of Auten Claims Management.
I'm Chantal Roberts of CMR Consulting, and welcome to the Art of Adjusting podcast.
Today, we're going to talk about life as an insurance adjuster from the perspective of property, auto, liability, or workers' compensation adjusters. Our goal is to bring interesting topics in the world of claims adjusting to people who are working as an adjuster now and to people who are considering a career as a claims adjuster. Hey, Chantal, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good, good. I don't know if you noticed, but the holiday season is kicked in full force around here.
Yeah, I love the sweater. I do not own
Thanks.
an ugly sweater. I have never owned an ugly sweater, actually, an ugly
Me
Christmas
neither.
sweater.
This is actually an ugly sweatshirt. It's got a
Oh,
hood and everything. So,
that's nice. Very
yeah,
nice. I'm bringing the bling with the sequins.
nice.
Yeah, yeah, but
Nice.
that's
I'm
just
doing
about
the
as
traditional Santa hat for
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah, just about as good as it can get for me. So we are actually going to be talking about the holidays today, and
Yeah,
I'm excited about it. Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
So, our caption and our notes here say holiday check-in, decorations, weather, year-end burnout. First of all, is all your Christmas shopping done?
No, because I have holiday burnout.
Oh yeah. And how about your decorations?
No, we don't. In fact, we are going to be having just we usually have a small, well, not a small, we have a big holiday cocktail party, and we've decided to cancel it this year because we're just both stressed and
Hmm.
things have got to get off the plate. So what we've decided to do is have a holiday pizza party with three very close couple friends, and so there will just be a total of eight people, and that is it. So we haven't even decorated really. So just again, because you got to give yourself that grace. I mean, we've talked about this.
Take the stress out of it,
Yeah,
do it
we've
when you
talked
can
about
do it.
this. Yeah, yeah, we've talked about it lots of times. So you just got to give yourself some grace and do that. What
Yeah.
about you? I mean, you had
Oh,
that huge Thanksgiving.
yeah. We had, so we had kind of a big thing that we had to get the decorating done before that. We were able to get that done. Oh man, it was like the weekend of December.
Oh, okay. Do you put your Christmas or your holiday stuff up beforehand, like during Thanksgiving or before or after?
We put we put it up after Thanksgiving.
Uh-huh.
We did it only a little bit earlier than normal this year
Mm.
because we had to get it done. So it's been up now, and we like it. We have had the Christmas tree lights on, and
Yeah.
the fireplace is decorated nice, and yeah.
Yeah. So I do want to remind everybody we are gearing up to get a total of what, 10 listeners. Woohoo.
Yeah.
Please like, follow, subscribe, share, comment on these podcasts so that we know that you're interested. If you've got an idea that you want us to talk about, or you've got a concept or a question that you want us to talk about, we are happy to do that. In fact, we did that earlier this year. And we had a couple of questions coming in from Dave Iadanza, who is one of
Yeah.
our old OG listeners,
Yeah.
and he had asked us a couple of questions, and so we've answered those. So be sure you ask us questions.
Yeah. LinkedIn is a great place to connect with us. So, and communicate
Mm.
any questions that you have.
Yeah.
So, on the topic of holiday seasons, there's so many things that could potentially go wrong in terms of claims, both on
Hmm.
the property side and the liability side. A lot of it is weather driven because this is where the snow starts to come and the weather starts to turn nasty, and that contributes to issues all over the board. Um, so property adjusters are going to see spikes in claims. Liability people are going to see spikes. Auto adjusters are definitely going to see some fender benders, not just on the roads, but in the parking lots where frantic shoppers are frantically shopping.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's not just going to be people running into one another, but I actually I think I had gotten the very last uh, parking spot one time. And when I came back out of the mall, this is when I was in college, I was driving my mom's car. Someone had keyed and I guess I cut them off from that one
Mm.
spot. I had no idea that I had done it, but I mean, people, that's my mom's car, dude.
Oh
That's
man,
not, but it's not just accidents. It could be something as rude as someone keying your car.
Vandalism,
Yeah.
theft claims. People
Mm.
break in when all the gifts are out, and there's a story about this guy who dressed in all green. You ever hear of him?
No, who's he?
Grinch.
Grinch. See, I've been thinking of the porch pirates. Have you been hearing? I
Oh
mean, we
yeah,
hear
yeah.
about the porch pirates every year.
There's this series of videos that keep showing on my social media feed, and I think they're AI generated, but they're people stealing packages, and then the package blows up with sparkly purple dye and covers them. But it actually looks really dangerous. So I don't
Yeah.
really think they're real videos. I hope they're AI because the explosions look like they could actually injure somebody, especially
Yeah.
around the face and eyes. So
Or
um,
they're doing that, or people are actually doing it on purpose to get viral or whatever.
mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And again, I would not recommend doing that. But
Talk about liability claims. Holy cow.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want that.
No, but December, and of course, and we're going to move into this in January because we do have a predictable pattern, and I don't mind that, quite frankly, that we always talk about these winter claims, and I am always of the mind that sometimes we forget things, and hearing things over and over again is what's going to help us get better.
Sure,
But
sure.
December and winter, we have these predictable claims patterns every year. And most of them do revolve around weather.
Yeah.
So,
It'd be fun to talk about what's the movie with uh Christmas Vacation.
yes, I just
So,
posted that. I just posted a LinkedIn post of uh, Clark Griswold plugging in the
yeah.
the excuse me, the lights,
Yep.
but also the old man in the Christmas story. You know how he always had the huge, big extension cords of lights? Okay, well,
Oh, right, right, right. He had
if that's not a
the
fire
octopus
hazard,
thing that
yes,
he plugged into the wall and it did burst on him.
every year it burst on them.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that is not a fire hazard that we need to be talking about,
Right, right.
so I think that's a great way to get into it. So let's talk about property losses.
Sure, sure.
And so okay, so our first ones, of course, as adjusters, one of the things that we're going to be looking for when we have our fire losses, there's a couple of different kinds of fire losses we can have, right? We can have the ones where our insureds have, or they're kind of like the old man where they put in too many plugs and
Yep.
they
Well, one of them's
overheat.
got to go.
Yep, one of them, and we're going to have that fire. And when you're looking at a fire, you're looking for the origin and cause. And of course, if it's a big loss, I do recommend you always get an origin and cause expert involved, even if it is kind of obvious. But what you're going to be looking for is making sure that the fire didn't begin in the middle of the room, or something like that, because then you might be suspecting some kind of arson,
Hmm.
as opposed to it being an electrical thing. That's going to, of course, happen near the electrical outlets. And,
Right.
and you're going to want either your field adjuster or your expert or whomever to hold on to those electrical cords, the wires, maybe even cut out that particular socket in case it
Yeah.
has to go to court or you do subrogation or something like that.
So I would say if you're an adjuster and you come across a fire that looks to have been related to an electrical component or to any, if you seem to be able to identify where it happened and you have a suspicion as to why it happened, if it's a big enough loss, get a cause and origin professional in there. Don't touch anything. Don't take anything out because What may happen is if there's a defect with one of the items that failed, if it's maybe it's a GFI outlet, or maybe it's a power strip, or maybe it's Christmas tree lights, whatever it is, um, they're gonna they're gonna want to arrange for the manufacturer to be on notice so that they can send their people as well, and everybody can be there when the evidence is examined and taken, so there's no spoliation issues. And that
Mhm.
just spoliation is just that you've ruined the value of any evidence and it can no longer be used to support one side or the other in terms of liability claim. So, yeah, evidence is going to be key important in just about any fire claim, unless it's very minor and it was, a cooking accident on the stove and the insured admits that's what it was. That if it's a very, very obvious situation, then
Yeah.
it's not as important.
And you mentioned a very good thing where we're talking about getting our experts in and spoliation. Don't wait to notify the manufacturer or everybody else who's involved, the electrician, yeah, the construction people, the whomever. Get those people involved early.
Hmm.
And if you think that you're going to be subrogating, get those people involved early because they are going to want that. And if you can't, then you absolutely need to be taking a lot of photographs because they will say that you've spoliated, meaning you've destroyed the evidence.
Yeah, if
So
you've got a situation where one of the potential at-fault parties does not want to participate, your job then becomes documenting everything as best you can with video, photographs, and it depends on the severity of the damage, or God forbid injuries.
mhm,
But in those cases, you want to really preserve everything you can about the scene. Um, a chain of custody should be used. We use forms where, whoever's giving the item to us has to sign off on it. We record the date, where we got it from, who we got it from, and then it goes into either our evidence storage or to one of our engineers. So
right.
that's going to be real important. And as an adjuster, most times if you're assigned a claim like this, you will receive directives for all this ahead of time, but not
Hopefully,
always.
hopefully.
Yeah.
I
Sometimes a claim is reported and it doesn't seem as serious as it actually is until you get there.
Yeah, yeah, and we're all saying hopefully, fingers crossed, because I just read, of course, Sandy Vina, who helped us out during while you were out, and she had just written a blog and she had said, why are Gen Z not becoming claims adjusters? And of course, it's something that all claims adjusters know. And for some unknown reason, there is a disconnect in the C suites. It's because they gave this intern, it was a workers' comp carrier, gave an intern a full load of 150 claims.
Hmm.
You cannot do
What
that.
could go
I mean,
wrong?
what could go wrong? He left within a day,
Yeah.
and that's what the blog was about. Is this is why everybody's running around, running from claims. And so you had mentioned you might get instructions, but the first thing I thought of was this poor little intern who wasn't even a full-time adjuster. I bet you dollars to donuts they didn't give him instructions. So this is again another reason why you should like, subscribe, and share this podcast with everybody else, is because we do give you instructions. But that advertisement aside, you are absolutely right. You should hopefully be getting instructions on how to do that.
Yeah,
And
and for managers and the claims directors who are kind of leading the teams out
mm,
there, um, make sure that everybody is aware of it. It's tough because in any claims department, you're going to have the new folks and the seasoned folks.
yep.
And if you're doing a seminar every quarter about, assigning cause and origin, the old folks have all heard it all before 1,000 times. The new folks for them, it's brand new information.
Hmm.
But you still gotta have those conversations in those meetings. And I've been the experienced guy in those meetings, and you wanna just get up and leave because you've
Yeah.
been through it so many times.
Yeah.
But you can offer valuable advice too as the senior folks, and management should recognize those folks and allow them to have the floor, so that the younger people can learn from them.
Exactly. Speaking of fire, the other one that we often will see is when a friendly fire becomes a hostile fire, and these are quote unquote insurance terms. The friendly fire is the fire that stays in its area. Whether that be in the little fire pit that we have outside, or the turkey fryer, or the fireplace,
Yep,
versus the
that's what it's
hostile.
called. It's a
Yeah,
place for fire.
exactly. Thus the name. Oh my God, they're so smart. Or it becomes a hostile fire, which then it doesn't mean that it's all starting things like, what do you mean? What are you looking at? I'm a fire. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about how the fire has gotten outside of its place. For example, a spark from the fireplace lands on the carpet and starts a fire.
That is now a hostile fire.
That is now a hostile fire. So these are things that you would need to be taking a look at. And again, having a fire start in the middle of a living room, in the middle of a bed, unless they're smokers, gonna be suspicious.
Fires that start around the perimeter of a room in a linear fashion.
Yeah, in a linear fashion. Yeah, also suspicious.
Yeah.
Fires that kind of like walk outside of the door in a very linear way. Start in the middle. It just means that they've poured gas or some kind of accelerant all the way down. Because, by the way, fire goes up. I don't know if anybody knew this,
Yeah.
but fire goes up. And so it's really weird for a fire to start on the second floor and then go down to the first floor unless it's an all-consuming fire and everything caves in.
We had an arson claim many, many years ago, and it was winter, and the house was all closed up. And the arsonist poured gasoline, like I said, around the perimeter of two rooms in the house and lit it on fire.
Hmm.
Well, it it started on fire, but then quickly went out because it had no air because the house was closed up. And nobody noticed the damage until a couple weeks later. And they went in and there were these burn marks. Of course, it smelled like smoke, burned
Right,
carpet in the place.
right.
But there was just these burn tracks around the perimeter of each room.
Who did
And
it? Do you
so,
know?
yeah, yeah, we eventually, well,
Okay. Yeah.
we had a cause and origin guy who was also involved in the local fire department. So
Mm.
he was kind of a law enforcement background, and yeah, they
Yeah.
got him. They
Yeah.
got
Oh,
him.
good. Good, good,
Yeah.
good.
He
You
wasn't
know,
very smart though. I mean, I well, I'm not going to give any advice as to how he could have succeeded here, but just
yeah,
it was
no,
winter
yeah,
and the house was closed up, and we'll
yeah,
leave it at that.
yeah. And there's a lot of times we're talking about property damage, but there's also a lot of times when the property itself can create a liability claim.
Yep.
And we've kind of talked about that. Was- uh, we shouldn't jump ahead yet because I'm thinking space heaters. I have space heaters in a couple of places like my bathroom because I hate waking up in the morning and having to take a shower and it's like freezing cold and everything. So I
Right.
have a space heater in my bathroom. And I also have a space heater in my office. So if you've got an old one or whatever, those can, of course, create a fire. But going back to, I guess, to
So
the
when it
liability one,
comes,
you could have like what, carbon monoxide too. But
yeah, yep. When it comes to fires, the liability tie-in is usually the manufacturer of the item that
mm,
started the fire.
yeah.
Um, Another liability claim that happens in fires is when one property starts on fire and the fire extends over the neighboring property and
Mm-hmm.
causes damage over there.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that neighbor and their insurance company will pay for their damage and then try and subrogate against the building owner where the fire started. However, they're going to have to prove that the homeowner of the first fire um, actually was negligent in causing the fire, and that's not always the case. Um, if you have an older electrical system, for example, that is working fine and there's no signs that it's about to fail in any way, but a lightning strike or power surge happens and it does fail,
Mm-hmm.
that's not necessarily liability. You could make arguments that, well, maybe they should have put a new system in and maybe they had the opportunity but they didn't. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. A lot of gray areas there, but the bottom line is that they have to prove liability on that other property or owner in order to collect. Just because the fire started on their property doesn't automatically make them responsible for damage to other properties around there.
Right. And I do want to point out because this I've been talking a lot in my expert reports about the regulations that the departments of insurance in the states make, and then the difference between the Unfair Claims Settlement Practices Act, because I don't think that there is a lot of people who know the difference, which might be a great podcast topic to do one
Sure.
time. Because
Yeah.
we go over the Unfair Trade Practices or the Unfair Claims Settlement Act like 1st of January every year without fail because it's important. But one of the things that these regulations, these administrative regulations talk about is the fact that just because the accident happened by someone else, like it's a liability claim, you as the carrier cannot tell your insured, no, I'm not going to handle it. You need to go over to X because, it's a liability claim. And if you think about it, that makes just a ton of sense because what has the insured done? They have paid you a premium. And so you are going to work their claim, take the deductible, and then you've got the right to go after the other person for subrogation. And whether you get repaid or not, that's fine. I would rather go through my insurance company so that way I don't have to deal with another adjuster because gosh knows the way my luck is, I'd probably get an adjuster like me, and I'm mean. I don't want to deal with a mean adjuster. So, yeah,
Well, that
that's
goes
something to
both
think about.
ways. If a third party is making a claim for liability against your policyholder, um, the adjuster handling that claim should not be sitting there saying, "What you should go through your own insurance
Mm,
company and they'll subrogate."
yep.
Now, you could make arguments that it's probably that they may be better off because they
They-
might have replacement cost coverage. They might not have to wait for a liability decision or a dispute or a reduction based on contributory negligence or something like that. So you can intelligently talk to them with some nuance and let them know that going through their own carrier might be the best bet. You'll
yes.
entertain their claim, you'll view it, you'll assess it, evaluate it, and whatever. But they'll probably get faster service and actually better results if they were to go through their own insurance company if they have, replacement cost coverage, for example. Um,
Great. Yes, great suggestion because it is kind of a dual thing. Like not only as a first party carrier can you not say you need to go to the other party, but as the third party carrier, you owe a duty to protect your insured. So you can't sit there and go, no, I'm not going to take your claim. Now, listen, I know that there are a lot of carriers out there that will say, unless the insured calls it in, then we're not going to take a third party claim. That's a whole different kettle of fish. And I'm going to tell you, I don't agree with it, but that again, whole different podcast.
mhm. Yeah.
There are some problems with that theory, whole different podcast, but we're continuing on But you're right. You've got going back to our fire thing, there's a lot of things, manufacturing defect. Who's going to be at fault? Is it the tenant versus the landlord? You know, if we're renting or something to that effect, I am always talking to my students about getting renter's insurance, and they think, "Oh, I don't need anything for my stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything." And then I think, "Well, what happens if someone else starts the fire or whatever?" And so, yeah.
Well, part of our job is to educate
Hmm.
both your policyholder and any third party claimants within reason. I mean, you
Absolutely.
don't want to educate your way out of a defense, but you do need to let that person know what their options could be. Um, and explaining how their own policy might react versus a third party claim, I
Mhm.
think is an important conversation to have. And we actually do that quite a bit here.
Yeah, yeah, we do. And it's part of the thing as to why I'm really, really passionate about some things. And make sure, and again, this isn't you as an adjuster. Of course, you would do this to your house since we're telling you, but if you only use your fireplace once a year, back in Arkansas, didn't need a fireplace that often, right? And so we were kind of bad about getting it cleaned because we didn't need it that often. But you could have a fire that way. I think that in the Northeast, y'all have what, blowbacks or puffbacks or something like that. And usually those are excluded, but it's like the oil heating.
Yeah,
Uh,
for an oil furnace, you can
mm-hmm.
have a situation where when the wind blows, it forces air down the chimney
Hmm.
and it pushes it out. And today, there's better devices to prevent that.
Cool.
Um, but you do see them, not very often anymore.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't handle property as much anymore either. But first party isn't just fires. You've got freeze damage when the weather cools down.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of folks, especially in older homes, might have basement openings that are fine during the summer, but in the winter, it's a recipe for disaster. And the wind blows, and it only takes a small opening sometimes for bad things to happen,
Yeah.
especially if it's on the windy side of the property. That
Absolutely.
wind will come in and it'll just freeze a little section of the pipe, and that's all it needs to do.
It is
And
all. Yeah.
yeah.
It's really interesting being up here in Kansas. And I'm going to go to a home improvement store later on today and get a foam board because I've got one particular part in my kitchen sink. Ironically, it faces the east, but at night I can open the cabinet door when I'm getting ready to let the faucet drip, and I can feel the cold air coming
Mm.
in just from the wall there. So I want to put a
Yeah.
foam board in, even though I let the faucet drip. But you're absolutely right. It can just be a little bit that causes that pipe to burst. And remember, we don't, or I shouldn't say we, the policy, 9 times out of 10, you got to read your policy, all of it, every single time. But the policy generally does not pay for the pipe that burst. It pays for ensuing loss. So while the pipe burst, that absolutely 100% needs to get fixed, and you need to tell the insured, hey, this part isn't going to be repaired. By the way, I would send out a reservation of rights letter to that effect in addition to making that phone call. But the ensuing loss, meaning cutting it open, drying everything out, repairing, replacing, repainting, whatever, that would be
I'm
covered
glad you brought this up.
normally.
I would ask, I would ask you a question.
Yes.
Where does it exclude freeze damage to the pipes?
To the pipes, it's usually in the homeowners section.
Yep.
in the exclusions where it will say we do not pay for freezing to pipes, appliances, HVAC systems, blah blah blah. And and why are you shaking your head no?
So you're using some of the language from the freeze damage exclusion if you fail to maintain
Contain
heat in the
heat.
home.
Right.
Then there is also a section that will not pay for, it will pay for water damage from accidental discharge, but it won't
Yes.
pay for the repair to the pipe.
Right.
Now, that's in a situation where the pipe fails for some unknown reason. But freezing to pipes, that's not excluded. That's an accidental, that's an accidental loss to the pipe. So a burst pipe, the carrier
Okay,
will
you
pay for that.
okay. This is where we're going to have to get up on to our policies. Okay, Bill, keep talking.
Okay, okay. This is
Ice
a
dams.
common,
You can do
this
ice
is,
dams. I'm going to pull up the HO policy
all
here.
right. You do some research and I'll talk about ice dams. Ice dams have, ice dams are covered if you have an HO3 or better. You have to have if you have a named peril policy, an ice dam, water from an ice dam is not covered unless there's an opening caused by the weight of ice and snow. So what happens in an ice dam is you get ice built up at the edge of the roof, and then behind that ice, the water starts to pond there and pool, and shingles aren't designed to sit in standing water. So that ponding and pooling causes the water to back up and get under the shingles um, and then come into the home through the eave and through the ceiling, and it causes water damage. And once the ice melts, the water goes away and the leak stops. Um, that is covered under an HO3. But interestingly, most HO3s are not endorsed to have uh, to change or modify the coverage to the personal property. Personal property is insured on a named peril only basis. So if that leakage comes down and damages your furniture and whatever, things that are not the building, those items technically wouldn't be covered by an ice dam. So that's my ice dam talk.
Okay. So, uh, I just want to point out, by the way, that Bill did say last podcast that Google said I was right. I just want to point that out to everybody that
Hmm.
Google said I was right. All right. So you are correct in that you're talking about our exclusion, section one exclusions. And by the way, guys, I am just using our standard ISO homeowners policy 03 broad or special forms. The edition date I'm using is 5/11. There is a more recent one, but nine times out of 10, most people are using either their own company's policy form or they're still using the 5/11. Okay, so it says we do not insure, however, for loss caused by uh, 2C, caused by one, freezing of a plumbing, heating, air conditioning, automatic, blah, 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 appliance caused by freezing. This provision does not apply if you have used reasonable care to maintain the heat in the building, which is that exception to the exclusion. And for purposes of this provision, a plumbing system or household appliance does not include a sump pump related, blah, 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 or a roof drain. Freezing, thawing, pressure, or weight of water, ice, whether driven by wind wind to a fence, footing, retaining wall, pier or dock, which we totally don't have. But I am quite certain that we don't cover for that damage to the pipe that is that has that has burst.
So
We're
you do a search for accidental discharge.
okay. We do have accidental discharge. Again, same section. Section one, peril assured against, and then there's exclusions. caused by, which is C, same section that we see our freezing. This is mold, fungus, or rot,
Yeah.
which talks about doesn't cover for mold, fungus, or rot if there's accidental discharge from a plumbing, heating, blah blah blah. And same thing. And see, here it is. This is kind of what I'm thinking of. I guess, any of the following: wear, tear, mechanical breakdown, latent defect, discharge, dispersal, seepage, migration. That's of pollutants, though, really. Settling, shrinking, bulging, expansion. Uh, and the exception to C, which is our exception to the exclusion, meaning that there is coverage, is unless otherwise excluded, resulting from an accidental discharge or overflow of water or steam storm within a storm drain, plumbing, or heating. We do not cover loss to the system appliance from which this water or steam has escaped, which means that we don't cover the pipe.
Hmm.
Section 1A3 water paragraphs A and C apply to surface waters under 2BC ensuing losses described in coverages A and B, not precluded. That's where I'm getting that we don't cover for those frozen pipes
Hmm. We do not
because
cover loss to the system or appliance from which this water or steam escaped for purposes of this provision of so
you know what we need?
in
We need a coverage attorney. And that brings
we
us to a
do.
great point.
This is
It's
never going to be an issue that's litigated because to repair a frozen pipe is a very inexpensive repair.
true.
Um, and and in most cases, when you've got a leaking pipe, even if it falls under this segment of the policy and it's the pipe fails because it corrodes and rusts out, um, the pipe isn't covered, but the resulting water damage is. Even then, the cost to repair the pipe is minimal, and nobody's ever going to sue for that. I mean, somebody could someday,
Yeah.
but
Now,
in most cases, this is a pretty clear provision. Um, but in a situation where you have, let's say the entire home free, let's say family goes away on vacation, the heating system fails for unknown reasons. They made every effort to maintain heat in the property, but something went wrong that was out of their control, and the entire house froze from top to bottom. Every pipe in the place burst. You're going to pay for that repair.
let's
That's my
see.
2 cents.
It's um okay. Again, Google, Coverage Council Google, for whatever it's worth, right? I mean, and we all know if it's on Google, it's got to be correct. Most homeowner insurance policies cover the resulting water damage from a burst frozen pipe, but typically do not cover the cost of repairing the frozen pipe. I agree. It hinges on the damage being sudden and accidental. Um, and of course it talks about the failing to maintain heat, and often it's 55 degrees, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. And we've talked about this before. Um, but you're right. I mean, 9 times out of 10, none of us, including the field adjusters, take that pipe out. So we just pay it because it's going to be so minor. I just am pointing that stuff off out or whatever. So, for what it's worth,
For what it's worth,
for
folks,
what
make
it's
sure you
worth.
keep your house warm enough where the pipes
Yes,
don't freeze anyway, and
but it's more for
button
the
up any holes.
adjusters how you adjust the
Yeah, yeah.
claim. So maybe ask questions of the insured. Your thermometer, your thermostat was set to 55 and above, right? Hint, hint.
So let's take a look at how a liability claim could ensue
Yes.
in a frozen pipe situation.
Mm,
And I've had these claims where we might insure the company that delivers fuel
mm,
to the house. Maybe
hmm
it's propane or heating oil or whatever, and they're in a schedule and they miss a delivery unbeknownst to everybody. And The family goes on vacation, doesn't realize that delivery was missed, and insured had a contract. They promised to deliver on a regular basis, and somebody fell asleep at the office there and didn't send the guy out to fill, and then the pipes freeze.
Hmm.
So that supplier would have a potential liability claim against them,
Yes.
and more than potential, they would actually have a claim, and I've been involved in the adjustment of those claims.
And see
So,
that's interesting because immediately I go to one of our favorites is I can see a pipe bursting. And when I did have a pipe burst, even in Arkansas, I had it happen. It was in the garage, an unheated garage, and it actually was leaking outside of the house. And so the water was freezing out there, and that created a slip and fall
mhm.
hazard.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So,
Um, yeah, we've had claims where contractors caused a leak and it got outside into a public area and somebody slipped and fell on ice. So that can happen too.
and I do want to talk about as well because I have this argument with a colleague or a friend of mine who believes, for whatever reason, that our property owners should be out in the middle of of a blizzard shoveling the sidewalk. And I actually have a neighbor who does this, and I don't know why, other than maybe he wants to get out of the house and this is his exercise or whatever. But yeah, you don't actually have to have that egress ingress, meaning going to and coming from the building property until the storm ends.
Yes,
And so and even then you don't have to be, if the storm ends at 12:01 a.m., the insured does not have to be out there at 12:02 shoveling. They
right.
have a quote reasonable time end quote to shovel or
And we had a
clear
unique circumstances last year, and the weather's setting up to do the same thing this year, where we have a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, a little more snow, a huge dive in temperatures, and then maybe a little more snow. It's almost impossible to avoid the buildup of ice when you've got those kind of
conditions.
varying conditions.
Yeah. Hmm.
And right now, we're not getting enough snow. Like most plow contracts are set based on how many inches need to fall before they'll come because they can't be there every second of every day. So they'll say 2 inches, every 2 inches, or when it reaches 3 inches, we'll come out and plow. What that results in is you get a dusting of snow multiple times throughout the day. So there's never more than a little layer of snow, but it gets compacted by cars driving over it and people walking on it and just kind of sunlight hitting it, but not melting it all the way. And then all of a sudden you get this crusty situation that's over time that builds up. I was at a, a parking lot last winter where there was a liability claim. The ice was 8 inches thick.
Oh my.
It was unbelievable.
Oh
I've
my.
never seen anything quite like it.
I don't think that ice or the salt ice melt would get rid of that.
That's the problem. That was the problem with an entire segment of the state last year is that everybody had the same problem. And
Mm,
the places that had it an even bigger problem were the ones where it was a very tight quarters and snow plow trucks really couldn't maneuver. Like if it was a bigger parking lot, they could get a head start and push and clear it a little better. But these other ones where there's a lot of traffic and the snow gets compacted throughout the day. Oh, this happened to be like a convenience store parking lot. It was
mhm.
very small and it was open 24/7. So there was constantly cars coming in and out over 3, 4 weeks. And it just built up and built up, and the plow couldn't do anything. The salt wouldn't do anything.
Hmm.
And yeah, so unfortunately, it's starting to do the same thing this year, and it's starting earlier. Last year, it started January, February. This year, we're already in December.
Mm, mm.
We had single digits last Friday. It was
Oh,
6 degrees when we left the house.
And again, I ask, why would anyone want to live up there? That's just crazy talk. It's
It's
cold here
it's
today.
we have to stay here. We love the taxes so much.
Uh,
We have the best taxes. They're so high, and they make all of our politicians really happy. So that's what I care about.
It's kind of like California. It's so expensive.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
these guests slipping on unshoveled walks. I live in fear of this because I'm a
Mhm.
claims adjuster. So, of course, my uh, entrance, even if I'm not expecting a package, I never know when someone's going to come walking up to my house,
Right.
And
Delivery
so
person, who knows what.
exactly. And I live in fear of them slipping and falling. So I am out there with some salt and my shovel and getting it at least somewhat clear so that
You
I
don't
can
want the
say,
milkman getting hurt.
exactly,
You don't have a
and
milkman, do you?
we actually do. One of my
Do you?
neighbors, and it's so cute too because the company is named Chateau. So you think of it being like French, and of course the French were the ones who settled this area and blah blah blah, but it's Shatto. And it's the person's last name. It's like
Oh,
Chateau
neat.
Farms, Chateau Dairy. And so I thought that was really, really cute. Anyway,
I gotta look at that. Look at that up now.
yeah. So
Chateau.
the other thing that you can think about, and we've talked about this before, which I thought was absolutely interesting, is the icicles and how they can become basically daggers to your head and kill you, which was crazy. You don't remember talking about that? I do. Um,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I just remember I
Your
turn and
description was apt. Um, yeah, we do get those. It's not just icicles that can.
the
I don't
killer
think I've ever
icicles.
had one that an icicle actually, you know, impaled somebody. Um, but those chunks of ice do cause concussions and knock people to the ground and cause some, serious injuries because especially if they're high. Like we were in New York City one winter and um, the sun was hitting this tall building next to us, and all of a sudden these segments of ice were just crashing to the ground around us, and we had to run for cover. So
Yes.
yeah, it can be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are so many more. I mean, I don't even think that we can get to all of them. Having Santa up on your roof. And I mean, he probably has those claws that you put on your shoes that the roofers and the field adjusters sometimes use when they're climbing their roofs and stuff like that, so he
Yeah,
doesn't fall.
why can't I
And
think of the name of them?
I thought they were called claws, but like I thought that's what their legal name was. But and then of course reindeer. That's a whole different thing because they're farm animals. They're not really farm animals, but they're specialized animals. So they're gonna
Cougar
cougar paws.
paws.
That's what it is. Um, and the reindeer that's going to be a special if they get injured or hurt or whatever, they're
Yeah.
going to
What if a
have.
reindeer attacks somebody? Vicious
Is it
propensity.
grandma? Because grandma was walking, she was a little drunk and she was walking out in the middle of the road.
Ran over by a reindeer.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, if
It
it's
could
if
happen. I've heard a song about it.
I did too, and it could happen, but maybe it's grandma's time to go. I don't know. I'm not
Maybe it's
saying.
operator error.
It could be operator error. Maybe, it's like a little glunk, 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 from Santa.
Santa's drinking a little more than milk.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Listen, I was watching Jamie Oliver yesterday with the husband, and Jamie Oliver was putting out sherry instead of milk
That would
for
explain it.
Santa. So I'm just saying maybe that is the reason why Grandma got hit. Not necessarily because she had also been drinking,
That
but
explains those rosy cheeks.
exactly. And so there are a lot of auto related vehicular accidents that could happen in the winter
What
that
if
we've
Santa
got.
damaged your roof?
See, that's what I'm saying. Look, and again, this is what I'm going to say. You got to go through. Probably your own homeowners, and then let them subrogate against the North Pole because that's just going to be really hard for you to get in touch with the North Pole because I think they probably take the whole month of January off
I think
after that
so.
big old push
I
to,
would.
I mean, I would too.
They
Um,
have repairs to make on the sleigh.
exactly. Because and the reindeer, they got to rest, especially if they hit grandma. Because low speed doesn't necessarily mean low exposure.
That's true.
Sometimes it does because we've talked about the missed claims,
Yeah.
the minor impact soft tissue claims. But I
Yeah.
mean, maybe
Presents falling out of the sky
Eh,
onto somebody's head. It could be a disaster.
which would be
Let's talk again about the Griswold family and
okay.
the exploding Christmas tree and the cat.
Okay.
Um, so do you guys do real tree or fake?
We usually do realtor, yeah.
Have you ever seen a video of a tree getting lit on fire? No?
No, no.
So, because we live out in the country and we have, we have a lot of wood that falls every year. So we burn wood. And we would burn the Christmas tree. We'd put it out and, and
Mhm,
then in the spring we would do cleanup and stuff. And when we were allowed to have open fires, which you
mhm.
can't always hear,
Right.
um, the Christmas tree was always spectacular because the pine needles have all that sap in there, and all that sugar makes really hot fuel, and it's really dry wood, and they go up so fast that if it were to happen in your house, there'd be no chance to put it out.
Mm-mm.
It would be as sudden, almost as sudden as it is in the movie where the cat chews on the light
Wire.
cords. Yeah,
I got to tell you, the spousal unit is the one that's used to having
the spousal unit.
yeah, the spousal unit. He's the one who's used to having the live tree. And so ever since we moved up here, we've had the live tree because I grew up with the fake tree because we live in fear of the tree catching on fire.
Hmm.
And so for that reason too, I can't have him keep the lights on at night with the live tree, even though I water it every other
Yeah,
day. I mean, it's
yeah.
dead, but I still am like I'm watering it every other day.
Well,
But
they say that helps, because
yes,
it does the capillary action will still pull that water up through the tree, and
right.
but
But
even
yeah.
so, I mean they go up so quickly. Now, when I was a kid, my mom had these little antique clips that would hold a candle, and you put those all over the tree. Could you imagine?
Okay, so let's talk about the Dickinson stuff because I wonder about that. But then I sit there and think they must ju when you think about Ebenezer Scrooge, they
Yeah,
were just putting the Christmas tree up on Christmas Eve.
right.
So it was really only one night. So
Temporary.
yeah, so it probably was still pretty fresh and not dry. And
Right,
while it could be set on fire, I mean, you're all sitting there looking at it,
right. It was
whatever
probably enjoyed for a few minutes and then
put,
everybody put it out.
yeah.
There was do you watch Wheel of Fortune?
No, how old are you, dude?
I don't watch it. My spousal unit watches it.
Oh, your
Anyway,
spousal unit watches it. No,
yes,
I don't watch
yes.
it. No.
She
Yeah.
so we were watching it, I think yesterday, and there was a woman from Buffalo, New York,
Uh-huh.
who left her tree up all year long this year.
Oh no.
She said she never got to it, and then it was like June, and she's like, I'm not going to take it down now. I'm just going to have to put it back up again in 6 months. So she just left it up. So,
Well, there you go. The one thing that we have at Overland Park that I do kind of like with our live trees is you can drop the tree off at a couple of the parks, and Overland Park then takes them and then puts them in our lakes and uses it for the fish
habitat,
habitats.
nice.
Yeah.
Don't
So,
they
so
float?
no, I think they weigh them down.
Okay.
I'm assuming they weigh them down. I don't know. But it's nice. I would just think that after so many years you would start building up an island, but what do I know? I'm I'm a claims adjuster and an expert witness, not a other kind of person. We're probably getting way off topic, and we're going to be
Probably.
talking the new year where we're going to be talking about, of course, our claims handling standards, practices, and procedures with the Unfair Claims Practice Act. And so our next episode will actually come out on New Year's Day. So that'll be nice.
Where?
So,
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. It
yeah.
will.
So won't that be very lovely? You can start
Yeah.
working on that. And yeah, so there you go. I think we've pretty much covered everything. We haven't really talked about auto, but except for
We
Santa,
have,
but
yeah, we
that's
have
okay.
lots of stuff here. Auto, there's using ladders to put Christmas tree lights up and the hazards associated
Yeah.
with that. And
So
but
many hazards.
so many hazards.
So
We'll
many.
save those for Christmas 2026. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that.
Right on.
Oh, okay. Well, we will see you later.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us on the Art of Adjusting podcast, where we talk about life as an insurance adjuster.
If you enjoyed this podcast or this episode, please give us 5 stars and a review. It does help the algorithm pick us up.
Hit that subscribe button real quick and tell all of your adjuster friends to check this out as well. For independent adjusting services, go to www.auten.claims. And for anyone interested in working as an independent liability adjuster, go to the Contact Us tab to join our roster. In the meantime, you can contact me at theartofadjusting.com for consulting and training purposes.